Okay, ask everyone to rate their looks on a scale of 1 to 10. Go ahead.
I think I'm a 12. Yeah.
Like 7.5, 8.
I'm a 7.
8.
8. 7.5.
8.
Okay, so you're a 12.
Yeah.
I love your confidence.
Thank
Is
you.
it confidence or delusion?
It's definitely confidence, I think.
Mm,
I think that
Probably.
I am the most prettiest girl in the world.
you're 25, right?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be more attractive in 10 years than you are now?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be more attractive in 20 years?
Yeah.
30 years?
Yeah.
Okay, now you're just...
No, I'm a magic
So
person,
you'll be
right?
55.
And I'm
Yeah,
like
okay.
a manifestation baddie
Yep.
or whatever you want to call it. I feel like I've been manifesting that I just keep getting hotter. And so whenever I look at myself, I just feel like I'm getting hotter.
What about when you're 75 in 50 years?
Be honest.
Probably just the same, honestly.
Bro, you're delusional.
This is HBR News number 454. Weinstein case overturned. Nonce teacher claims innocence because Wammen, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian Martinez, and I'm joined by my good friend, Dr. Randercam. Hannah Wallen is not available this week.
She's busy fighting a bear. Don't worry, she'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, I didn't make that a story, but because I thought it was too easy, and a lot of people are
It's not
tackling
really a
it.
story, it's just...
Is it? Yes, right. Exactly.
For anyone who doesn't know, there was a video that apparently went viral 3 weeks ago of some dude interviewing women in the street saying, would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear? And an alarming amount of them said bear. And ever since then, women have been coping and seething, trying to explain to the misogynistic men on the internet, no, you don't understand. It's not about the bear. Don't mansplain to us about bears. We know bears will kill us. We really hate men, all right? We're just using this opportunity to tell you how much we hate men. So
Exactly.
stop, you misogynists. You don't understand how much we hate men. No, we do. No, I think we do. That's the point in the question.
Yep. So we're not covering that today. Mike just did, basically. And I know you've seen other people talking about it and coping around it. But what we will be talking about this week are the recent developments regarding one of Harvey Weinstein's many trials or legal battles. A 39-year-old woman assaults a man for getting her age wrong. Gen Z women are coming out as bisexual in unprecedented numbers and more, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So I have like 3 different links, various links of feminists essentially like making death threats against people and losing their minds over various things. We're just going to go through them. They're short, and all of them come from Fandom Pulse, which is John Delarose's website. He is editor-in-chief there and a friend of mine, as well as that Park Place, which is run by another journalist named Jonathan Trent. These guys are doing their best to actually do journalistic work, and they're sort of related to a number of different things, but we'll get into those. They should be interesting and fun, and please consider joining us in the patron show. So that you can do that. And to do that, you have to join us, become a member by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe and joining us in the Discord. $5 a month will get you into the Discord. And you'll be able to watch hours of additional content. I know that Allison has been threatening to put out another Raging very soon. And I think that the Discord bros usually get to see those first. And lots of other things. There's lots of activities and various sorts of community things going on in the Discord. It is a very active Discord with lots of very cool, supportive people. So please consider joining us in that Discord. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, please go to badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. That is where all of our content lives. And lastly, I just want to say that we are doing our monthly fundraiser. Today is, I think, tomorrow is technically the last day, but I'd like us to get over that final milestone, and unfortunately I don't have the legs for an OnlyFans account, so I'm asking you to support us by going to our feedthebadger.com / not just a tip. That's for the messages, which you guys can also send. But feedthebadger.com / support to help prevent me from going into sex work, which is now protected work, by the way, because I'm going to get into today's stories. And the first one I want to share is there's a new pride flag dropped. I just added this. I just learned about this today. So behold the new pride flag. And you're probably wondering, what the hell is this? So I will tell you what I do know, okay? So first we have the rainbow, which is everything from the red down to the purple. And then we have the pink and blue above that, which is not trans rights. That's something else. I don't know what exactly, but I know those are 2 additional colors that have been added. And then we have like this sort of wedge shape here, which is the trans rights, which is the like baby blue and girly pink. And then we have the black and brown for people like me, I guess. So I'm glad to be represented. And then you have this ring, this purple and yellow ring. And the yellow and purple ring is representative of the intersex community. Apparently, they're all communities now. The intersex community, and the reason why it wraps around the trans and colored people flag part is because there are intersex people that are trans and people of color. So you got to like encompass it all. And then we have the Umbrella Corporation logo from Resident Evil. No, it's the umbrella. You see the umbrella, Mike?
Yeah.
That's the sex worker and also former sex worker population. That's what it means.
But I mean, if you squint your eyes, it looks like the Palestinian flag. Or is it the other way around? If you look at the Palestinian flag when you're on acid, it looks a bit like
that. Somebody said, when a kid wants to use all the felt tips in the pack or has a tantrum. Yeah, right? Like, this is, yeah. So anyway, now you know we have a new pride flag. So when you're out in the world and you see some bigot using the old pride flag of 2023, you call them out to the pavement. You say, hey, you backwards cave person, we have a new pride flag. Where I mean, you know what? I should just make this as a design and sell it. I could make some money. I'm just saying. Like if you had to constantly print new products like merchandise, like hats and shirts and flags, for people to put on their lawn or in their school, like if you're a teacher, I mean, it is pretty lucrative if you think about it.
You could just make your own version. I mean, you could add your own element to it, like just put a pedo bear in the corner and go, no, this is the new pride flag. And if you don't include pedo bear, then you're a fucking transphobic bigot.
Yeah, I do wonder what this white part of the flag that has to go.
White,
because that's the one thing you can't have. Yeah, yeah. We got to cover that up. This is not enough. Sorry guys, this flag is now actually it's no longer relevant. We're moving on. That's no longer the flag. So sorry, that's the end of that. So we'll be on the lookout for the next flag, maybe in the next before the show is over. I'm sure there'll be a new design. So anyway, just wanted to share that. Thought it was educational, and I like to stay on top of current events. So now you know there's a new pride flag. And you better respect it, you bigots. Or not, because it has a white part and it has to go away. All right, anyway, moving on to the actual stories, because that was just something that I just learned about. In news that doesn't surprise me at all, but may surprise some people, the New York State Court of Appeals has made a significant decision when they overturned Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction. In a 4-3 ruling, the court determined that the judge in the New York City County trial made improper rulings that prejudiced Weinstein, including allowing testimony about allegations not directly related to the case. As a result, the court has ordered a new trial to take place. Weinstein's lawyer, Arthur Aidala, hailed the decision as a tremendous victory for every criminal defendant in the state of New York. However, Douglas H. Wigder... Every criminal defendant, that's what he said, yeah. However...
Maybe.
Yeah, right? what was I? Oh yeah, who represented Douglas? Okay, wait. However, Douglas H. Wigder, who represented 8 of Weinstein's accusers, expressed disappointment, calling it, quote, a major step back in holding those accountable for acts of sexual violence, end quote. The decision also prompted, maybe they should have accused him in college instead. It probably would have like just been gone. The decision also prompted reactions from various figures in the entertainment industry and advocacy groups. The Silence Breakers, a group of Weinstein accusers, expressed dismay at the ruling, but reaffirmed their commitment to fighting for justice for survivors everywhere. Anita Hill, head of the Hollywood Commission, emphasized the urgent need for systemic changes to address sexual assault and harassment in the industry. Despite the overturning of the New York conviction, Weinstein's rape conviction in Los Angeles remains intact. Evgenia Cherestrova, one of Weinstein's accusers in the Los Angeles case, expressed confidence that the conviction will be upheld, stating her determination to continue seeking justice for herself and all victims. So, just a couple of things to add on to this. This is just one case. There are many cases against Weinstein, so he's not like he's not out of the woods yet. So that's important to note that there are still many other cases that are still ongoing, but this one has been overturned. And in addition to that, Harvey Weinstein was like 2 days later after this ruling, he went to the hospital. So he is currently being hospitalized. I mean, he is old and uses a walker, I guess. So that is also just a little bit of a follow-up, additional info. So, Mike, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, maybe innocent is the wrong word. I know he hasn't necessarily been found innocent or even not guilty. Well, I suppose we've defaulted back to not necessarily guilty in this case yet, and it's all relative, sort of. Is he any more guilty than anyone else in Hollywood? I mean, especially if you average it out. Apart from the children, I mean, the only people in Hollywood who really didn't know what they were getting themselves in for were the children. And you couldn't even call them innocent. They have long since lost any semblance of their innocence. And that's just, sad. As far as we can tell, Harvey Weinstein's victims, I mean, quote unquote victims, were women. Grown-ass women. Hungry for fame, hungry for power, hungry for sexual adoration. Obviously, that doesn't describe every actress or indeed every actor. I, for one, found myself noping out of the pursuit of such a career in acting because I found something insurmountably depressing and soul-destroying about trying to sell your image, because that's what it does come down to. It's trying to sell your body using images of your head, because that's really what you're selling, and getting rejected 1,000 times, no matter how good you might be at what's it called, acting. And even if you do achieve success, you then have to go on to spend your whole career reading out things that someone else has written and trying to uphold someone else's convictions in a somehow confusing way. It's a bit like being a politician. I mean, it's not difficult insofar as it's not particularly laborious, but it is psychologically difficult. It requires a second skin, as they say, and essentially half a brain, as they don't say, or at least a partitioned brain. And I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm certainly not without a substantial ego of sort, but my ego doesn't work like that. You need to be ruthless to make it in mainstream show business. You have to be willing to do anything. Anything, yes, anything. And that's the point. We're talking about people who were, and evidently still are, willing to do anything. Up to and including lying, cheating, backstabbing, and indeed exploitation. While we're acknowledging that employers in Hollywood can be guilty of exploitation, let us not forget that so can employees. you can use sex to get what you want, just like you can use what you have to get sex. That's when you get exploiters exploiting exploiters, like trolls, all the way down. Yes, that's theoretically possible, and it certainly seems to be what goes on the casting couch. But at some point, you have to call a spade that quacks like a duck. It's a spade that quacks like a duck. It's a contractual relationship, one that both parties enthusiastically consent to. You scratch my back, I rub my deformed raisin dick across your back. Whatever the hell Harvey Weinstein even did with that thing.
His octopussoir.
Oh, that takes me back.
You remember that? Okay.
La 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 baby, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Drawn Together. You all should watch Drawn Together before it gets completely cancelled.
Yeah.
Yes, it already was.
I think Adam Carolla's on that, right? He was the pig.
He was Spanky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the ham.
Great
Spanky
show.
Ham.
They'll never make a show like that again.
Very funny. Nope, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason this case was overturned was because it was considered improper, legally improper, to flood the case with this clown car of similarly aggrieved thoughts, in the assumption that sheer quantity of testimony is some kind of laudable substitute for quality of testimony. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter how many ruthless, power-hungry thoughts you drag out into this theater to give their best Oscar-winning impression of a victim. All you have is overkill. You just have too many kooks spoiling their breath.
Mm-hmm.
You tried too hard and got too far.
Yes, and in the end, it doesn't even matter.
I say in the end, but evidently it took, 4 years to overturn this, what I'm gonna have to call a miscarriage of justice. Was the dude languishing in prison for 4 years?
I don't know. You know, I that's a thing that there isn't a lot that is known about. I don't think he was languishing in prison. Maybe some kind of
languishing somewhere in some.
Yes, languishing somewhere. Maybe house arrest or something. I don't know.
But
maybe club fed, they call it.
4 years. What, all along while these clowns were negotiating their thumbs way out of their ass. I don't know if that's a typical timeline in the normal due course of things, but it's like I alluded earlier, it certainly doesn't bode well for anyone else who, for instance, is currently undergoing a joke of a kangaroo court in New York and really needs to not be in prison for the next 4 years. So, depending on who you're talking to, this story is arguably good news for the sake of the precedent. I said precedent, but yeah, I mean president. The real one. So yeah. Sorry if I talk a lot of needless cod shit in this episode, but yeah, Hannah's not here, so we're covering her shift. Is gonna be...
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, if it's a little shorter, I'm okay with that. So, but
it's going to be it's a short show full of my ugly ass voice. You have
come on, everybody loves your voice. I think yours is the favorite voice on here. So even though Lindsay's always telling me like, "Oh, Brian, you have a great voice," like, come on now. I know I'm like number 2, but it's okay. Actually, Mike J has a good voice too. I have to say, it's
different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I know. It's the accent though. You get that. All right, but anyway, I think that the way I see the Harvey Weinstein case is the same way that I see free speech. Like, if you're not willing to stand up for due process for people that you probably find the most odious, then you don't stand for it at all. And I don't see any smoking gun with all of the allegations levied at Weinstein. And unfortunately, people that comment on this case, no matter what their politics are, they will side against the man either because they don't like him because he is not one of their people, like, you know, part of their side of whatever, or because they operate under the assumption that, well, if like this many women came forward, there must be some truth. This is like, I don't know if there's like a logical fallacy for it that I don't know the name of, but this is how it always works, right? So if you'll remember, Justice Kavanaugh had a number of allegations. Trump had a number of allegations, and the more allegations come out, then what the hope is that some of them, people will be like, well, some of them have to be true. But like, I don't think there's any reason to believe that any of them are, because this is just a tactic that people can use to destroy someone. And so I say that, you know, based on what I know about the case, which isn't a ton, I am glad to see that you know, it appears that at least some due process is being, you know, seen through here. He may turn out to be guilty of something, but I don't care about that. I care about everything operating the appropriate way. And because we have to, like, if you can do this to someone like him, then you can do this to any man, right? So like, this is why it matters, right? That's why I've been following this case, and I still defend Harvey Weinstein's right to, you know, a fair trial, and that, you know, it has to be proven, right? We're talking about criminal charges, and that it should be fair. And in fact, what I am wondering about is, I think that this should be televised. Like, this should be available for the public to watch, much like the Johnny Depp case, because I think that
every court case should be televised. I don't know what it is.
Every court case should be, yeah, I think so. Unless they're, you know, unless they involve minors or something like that. Like, there's like a, you know, I don't know, some like child molestation case or something. But I think that in
the pictures or something,
you can blur out, you can put mosaics on the faces. But I'm saying, like, I think if this was televised, we would get a much clearer picture of the humanity of this guy and what he's going through. Again, I'm not defending his character. I don't know him. All I know is this: all the women in Hollywood that talked about him, Oprah Winfrey, you know, what was the name of these really, really high-end actresses, were all showering him with praise, and now he is, you know, the devil himself. And it's like, that doesn't add up, in my opinion, at all. It doesn't add up. So there's something else going on, and I think that if you look at the consequences, because this is sort of like, he is like, you know, patient zero of the Me Too movement. When you look at oh yeah, go ahead, Mike.
He's the fall guy.
That's what I think.
You have to wonder whenever there's a fall guy involved. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm way more than 50% convinced that he's an absolute scumbag. But the fact that he's the one who's been nominated as the fall guy makes me quite skeptical. That he's being used as a shield to make sure that a big old cabal of other, even worse motherfuckers, you know, never have to go under the sword of Damocles. So yeah, by all means, give him a fair trial, a trial that's fair enough to get him locked up, and set a precedent so that the rest of these fucking kiddie fiddlers can see justice. But this looks awfully like someone's being thrown under the bus so that no one else has to find themselves under.
Well, it's if you can get this guy, then the assumption would be that the investigation into some like broader problem is over. What I was getting at with the Me Too thing was, you know, this was the catalyst for Me Too, which was supposed to be, it was originally a problem within Hollywood, but if you look how quickly it became a problem with men across the board, and then it was a problem everywhere but Hollywood. It was like, you know, people in boardrooms, people in businesses, in the animation industry, in the music industry, and everywhere else. And I'm not saying that these things did not exist, but you saw that essentially the Me Too movement was used as a substitute for an actual like legal system to prosecute and destroy the lives of of people, mostly men, in these industries, and then all of a sudden, all of those positions that those men lost were replaced with women. So there was something else happening. Like even Rose McGowan made this commentary about how the Time's Up movement was essentially astroturfed by the state. I would argue that the Me Too movement is also, to some degree, probably to a large degree, backed up by government, Fed, CIA money. I mean, we know this happens. I just saw a video clip of a woman. Oh, I should have gotten the clip. It's on Twitter. And she's on a podcast, and she's like this feminist that goes on the whatever podcast and stuff, and she does debates, and she's like, she wears glasses, and she's attractive and educated, and she's like good at rhetoric, and she like goes in and essentially represents the feminist position. And she's on this podcast admitting that she was in college getting her law degree, and she just like started a TikTok talking about feminism, and all of a sudden she was getting like right off the bat, she was able to make a living essentially doing propaganda for the Biden campaign, the Biden administration, and Planned Parenthood. And she just gets like, now she gets paid to essentially just be a propagandist. So we know this happens, like we know that these institutions have their hands in these movements that are being used to essentially destroy the lives of men. And there are unions involved, there are political parties involved, there are extremely like desperate people, and they were okay selling their own soul to people like Harvey Weinstein, which I believe that there were women that did, sexual favors for this man in one way or another in exchange for fame, but it was a choice. It was not abuse. And it doesn't matter that he has rank, because anybody can walk away and say no, and they didn't. And now that that's out, again, to avoid having to face the fact that they did make these choices to be a part of the casting couch, they are instead saying, oh no, he's a monster, he did this to me, and I did not choose to do this. And this is a precedent we have to kill it right off the bat, because it will destroy people. It will be used to destroy people of any stripe in any walk of life, and that includes you. So we should know that, how this works. So anyway, I'll be the only one, I guess, or if I have to be, at least on this part of the internet, that'll say, you know what, I don't have to make the case that I do or don't like this man. All I know is that he is innocent until proven guilty, and nothing that I know about the case adds up. And maybe maybe there should be some way to like make it to where we watch all these trials on the internet. Why not? We should be able to do that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I know that's controversial. I know that it's really easy to hate this man, but again, I don't care about that. I care about what the truth is. So let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. I did get some super chows and super chats, so I'm going to go ahead and read them. I got one yesterday. This was after our show from Grim84. Thank you, Grim. And he gives us $20 and he says, longtime listener since I was around 2016, finally pitching in. So, and he sent us a meme. I'll share the meme. Thank you all for drudging through this for as long as you have. What little optimism I have left for Western society comes from what you do here. God bless. P.S. A crude meme with too much going on, but it sums up my view on the Sargon position. So, in case you guys don't know, we did a response video to Carl yesterday, where it was a video called like "Are Women Welcome on the Right?" And we had our thoughts on that, and we talked about it. But this is essentially a meme. Can you see this, Mike? You should be able to see this. You may have to like make it.
Oh God, is this a lefty meme? Was there so much text?
No, I know it is it's a bit much. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe. So here's Sargon, and it's like Sargon wearing a mask, and it says, please join the right. We won't hold you to any standard or shame you in any way, whether you're a drug-addicted prostitute who abuses your children or a pious woman with morals and values who selflessly helps others. We will treat you the same. And then Labor, I guess these are just lefties on this side. There's a Democrat logo and like a Liberal Party logo for Canada. And this Vosh-looking guy is saying, hey, slut, if you support what we tell you to, we will reward you. If you don't, you will face a consequence. Now give your child these puberty blockers. And the woman is saying, yes, daddy, whatever you say. So yeah, that I'm just reading it out. I'm not going to comment because it'll make the show even longer. But thank you for that super chow, sir. And now I have one other one. Richard Bier, or no, Meredith G gave us a super chow. And she says, hold on a second here. Switch this out. And she says, for $5, HBR News 453, let's keep in mind that one of the California accusers is the wife of Gavin Newsom, and Newsom was behind changing the laws in California to prosecute. Weinstein was the scapegoat to protect others who have done worse things. Yes, that's what I suspect. I suspect that he is essentially his fat ass is being used to fill the rabbit hole so we can't go deeper. If that makes sense. He's plugging up the rabbit hole. All right, well, thank you, Meredith.
Much like the scraps of nobodies we were given regarding Epstein Island. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Albert Nader Retro gives us $2 Canadian, says he's a creep. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Oh, it's on the screen. What am I doing? He's a creep, but the great claims are questionable. I guess that's fair. I don't like using the word creep, but that's just me. And then he gives us $2 Canadian again and says Meryl Streep called him God at the Oscars. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. I wanted to say Susan Sarandon for some reason. I don't know, but yeah, I get those two mixed up. Meryl Streep and Susan Sarandon. Sue me. All right, anyway. So let us know what you guys think about this development regarding Harvey Weinstein in the comments. And let's move on to the next story. So, there was an incident involving a woman named Joanne Dodd who attacked a pub drinker after he guessed her age incorrectly. So she is 39 years old and he thought she was 43. So a 5-year difference, not massive.
Jacques.
Jacques.
Row.
So this incident resulted in her facing sentencing at Manchester Crown Court. Despite facing up to 3 years in jail, Dodd was spared imprisonment and instead received a suspended sentence. The judge, Elizabeth Nichols, woman, acknowledged Dodd's dedication and positive character, highlighting that her conduct was out of character and that she posed no risk to the public. However, the judge emphasized the seriousness of the offense and the impact it had on the victim, who suffered a 4-inch laceration to his face. She hit him with a glass. They call it glassed? She glassed him. I never heard that term before. Glassed. Have you? Have you ever heard of the term glassed? When someone is hit in the face with glass? Or a glass? Mike, are you there? I think his Mike's mic may have disconnected. I'll finish reading. When you can talk, you can just talk. Dodd expressed remorse for her actions and was ordered to complete 180 hours of unpaid work, pay £800 in compensation to the victim, and adhere to a 12-month suspended sentence. During the incident, Dodd, who was intoxicated at the time, attacked Carl Cooper after he wrongly guessed her age during a conversation. Despite attempts to de-escalate the situation by seeking refuge in the toilet, Cooper was assaulted by Dodd, resulting in a facial injury that required stitches. Dodd's barrister highlighted mitigating factors, including personal issues such as the loss of her father and struggles with self-esteem. Well, I guess that makes it okay for you to cut a man's face open. Despite the severity of the offense, Dodd's remorse and positive character were considered in the sentencing decision. Mike, I think you're working now.
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Fuck the glassing situation. What is this bullshit? What this shaken Scrabble board of these impossible piles of unscorable words? Sorry, I had heard about this story last week, but this is the first I'm seeing of this splattershot nonsense that was apparently dribbled into a Crown Court and was apparently instrumental in getting her off the hook. Positive character? What in the dead snake-shaped fuck? Do you mean the positive character she exhibited in court?
Not when she was drunkenly cutting this man's face in a bathroom.
Yeah, what was I saying just now about actresses and their ruthless duplicitousness in the pursuit of exploitation and getting away with that exploitation? Oh, but she seemed remorseful. Yeah, I bet she did. I've no doubt at all that she seemed like she was expressing remorse in the fucking courtroom, and that it was all too convincing to a fellow mega cunt of a judge. That doesn't mean she's actually remorseful. You want to know how you can judge someone's character? How you can accurately judge the inner demons of someone's character? See what they're like when they're drunk. Which, by all accounts, apparently she was at the time. You know, some people are horny drunks. Their brains just sink through their body and take root in their junk, and they swagger about the place trying to get laid all night. Some people are happy drunks. They just laugh their asses off and dance their asses off, and they have a good time. Some people are sort of shouty drunk. They sing their asses off at high volume, and they bellow their favorite jokes and their favorite anecdotes like a fucking town crier. Hear ye, you know. Some people are angry drunks. They dissolve that previously cultivated barrier between their inside voice and their outside voice, and they start telling people how they really feel. I think I might be that kind of drunk. Well, no, I'm just an awesome drunk. I'm just a funny drunk. I'm just funny and awesome when I'm drunk, like I am right now. But
yeah,
some people are violent drunks, and not just punch people in the face drunk, but smash a glass in someone's face just for slightly and understandably overestimating your age drunk. Not just that, but, and again, I'm only just learning this detail from this write-up, pursuing a random man into the men's toilet and smashing a glass in his face. Drunk. I'm sorry, but being drunk is never an excuse for any action, let alone any crime, let alone that shit. If being drunk is not an excuse for drink driving, how the fuck is it an excuse for drink premeditated stalking and drink first-degree grievous bodily harm? You didn't do this because you were drunk, bitch. People drink all the time and they don't do that shit. You did this because you're an extremely unhinged and violent person, and you will still be an extremely unhinged and violent person even if you never drink again. You have demons. Vicious, vindictive demons that could erupt all over an innocent person at any moment. This is exactly what prisons are for. To keep the public safe from your erratic and life-threatening behavior, while you take accountability and work on controlling your demons.
Right to jail, right away.
Exactly. And by that, and by demons, I do not mean self-esteem issues as portrayed in this. I am so fucking tired of this backward-ass excuse people use for these self-obsessed narcissists. Women. Oh, she's just insecure. She just lacks self-esteem. Her problem is she doesn't love herself enough. Bitch, are you for real? This is straight out of Upside Down Land. You know how a person with genuine low self-esteem reacts when someone calls them ugly? They go, yeah, you're right, I am. I mean, it's not fucking rocket science, people. You know how a person with genuine low self-esteem reacts when someone calls them beautiful? They instinctively think, what? What's going on? Am I being punked? Am I being trolled? I'm obviously not beautiful. I don't understand what's happening. See, people with low self-esteem have trouble taking compliments, and it's something they have to work on, because it's low-key impolite to reject a compliment, because you're rejecting someone's honest opinion. It's this hideous irony that us stereotypical British folks are eventually horrified to discover. Whenever we receive a compliment, we instinctively reject it because we think rejecting it is the polite thing to do, but it's actually rather rude. And that's the journey of the low self-esteem personality, the journey into a true sort of equilibrium of ego and true self. Whereas, right, if you call someone ugly and their reaction is to fly into a violent rage where they chase you into the toilet and lacerate your fucking face, it's very probably because, get this, right? Get ready for your mind to be blown, right? It's very probably because they disagree with you. It's because
You know that meme?
Yes. Yeah, the science guy with the blown mind.
Yes.
It's because they strongly disagree with the notion you have presented that they are ugly. They in fact hold fast to the contrary opinion that they are in fact beautiful, and that it would be some kind of affront to be presented with an opinion to the contrary. Yeah, had that really not occurred to you or anyone in this fucking courtroom? When you say a thing and that thing causes the person to whom you said it to go batshit crazy and proceed to compulsively scar you for life, it's usually, it's typically because they disagree with the thing you said, not because they agree with it. When they agree with the thing you've said, the typical reaction is to go, I agree. Yeah? I'm sorry
Yeah.
to sound patronizing to anyone who has thought of this shit, but I feel it needs to be said for the sake of the alarming amount of people who have lived their whole lives never thinking of it. Some people, right, their biggest problem is narcissism. They absolutely fucking love themselves. They are infinitely convinced of their own unassailable perfection, and they will not abide any passing statement that puts so much as a shallow dent in that infinite self-love. So much so that they will turn any face that utters such a statement into a hideous before picture from an advanced medical journal for internationally renowned reconstructive surgeons. And for anyone to turn around and attribute this kind of explosively vengeful narcissism into, of all things, a lack of self-esteem is, you must know you're not helping. You must know that all you're doing is sending this person on their way and telling them to be even more violent, even more biblical in their retributive self-righteousness. You have only condemned the next man she encounters to a grisly fate involving a fucking machete and 6 separate trash bags. At which point, she'll be right back in court pleading, Your Honor, he told me my butt doesn't look big in these pants, and I could tell by the tone of his voice that he was lying. He was asking for it. Well, that's not guilty. This poor woman just needs some candles and a bubble bath and to feel better about herself. Yeah, no. Pardon my misogyny, but this woman needs to be in a maximum security prison where she can learn what it's like to exist in the presence of other psychopathic women who are also in prominent positions in the better than you community. Better yet, fucking drive her out into the middle of a forest, kick her out of the car, and let her build a brand new life with the grizzly bears. She'll fucking love it. It's not about the bear after all.
Yeah, I was gonna make a bear joke, but you did it first. But all I will say is that this is interesting because we have covered stories of women getting light sentences in the past. And some of the excuses are pretty mind-blowing, like that the judges come up with. But most of them were like, oh, this person is young and they have their whole life ahead of them. And, I don't want to... I remember a woman in particular that did something horrendous. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was young and bright or something. And because the judge felt bad about this woman's future being stolen, he let her... he let her off on a light sentence, maybe even a slap on the wrist, but I can't remember the detail. But this woman is not even that. She's 39, that looks 43, and if I look at the picture, she does look like she's middle age, and she still spared this. And so this just, I guess the main takeaway from this, obviously this woman should be prosecuted like any other person. I mean, I hate to be the guy that goes, imagine if a man had done that. But I mean, the truth is, if a man had done that, not only would he have gone to jail, but in a way, all men everywhere would be going to jail, because it would be indicative of every man on earth instead of this being like a one-off, So there is also that. I think it is important to point out. And yeah, I guess guys, like, if you're gonna talk to women, don't try to guess their age. So it's probably just the best thing to do for you.
Or low ball it as low as possible. Just say
Women.
21.
Yeah, there you go.
Even if they're 18.
Or just stop at 29.
Whatever it is whatever age it is that every woman wishes they were, which I think is mid-20s or something. Just make sure you lowball it, because there's fucking psycho women out there who will disfigure you for life.
Yeah.
And here's these bitches out here saying, "Oh, we're more safe with a bear than with a man." Oh, fucking really? Look at his fucking story. If you tell a bear that they look like a Kodiak bear when they're actually a grizzly bear, they won't fucking.
How dare you? You get confused for a panda bear. Okay, I got a super chat from Albert Nada. He gives us $2 Canadian. Says the med student who stabbed her boyfriend. I think, yeah, she was a med student. I think that is correct. Thank you for that. And that was also, I believe, in the UK. So yeah, good times. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. And we're gonna move on to the next story. All right, so speaking of people getting out of going to jail, that's been the theme. I don't know if you noticed. Harvey Weinstein, beats a case. This woman manages, without even trying, didn't even need like powerful Jewish lawyers. She's just like gonna have a suspended sentence after cutting a man's face open. And now we have this. So interesting numbers have come back after a new survey by the census. Oh wait, that's wrong. Sorry. After being convicted and sentenced to jail last year, a former teacher and pedophile, former teacher, current pedophile, not former pedophile, wants her conviction overturned. Gay Grant. Okay, sorry, that's interesting name. Gay Grant was sentenced back in December of 2022 after pleading guilty to maintaining an unlawful sexual relationship with a child. That's putting it mildly. The charge stems from her abuse of a 10-year-old male student back in the 1970s while she was teaching. The boy at first confided in her about bullying, but Grant then escalated with inappropriate physical contact and eventually sexual intercourse. The abuse lasted 2 years, after which the male student attempted to distance himself from Grant, who would later send him letters claiming to love him. Ew. Together with her lawyer, Stephen Boland, Grant believes that her conviction should be dismissed or that she should be retired due to her gender. So she's literally playing the woman card. Grant cites the case of Helga Lamb, which ended with judges refusing to prosecute a former school teacher who molested 4 boys in the 1970s. The judges argued that a literal reading of the law did not apply to conduct committed by a female upon a male. Grant argues that the same treatment should be applied to her case as well.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Evidently, what we're now thinking of as a modern phenomenon might not be all that modern after all.
No.
It's been going on since the 70s, and there's no reason to believe it wasn't going on long before that. It just gets covered up.
Probably going on since Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
The word Sodom is there. I mean, it's so...
as is the word gonorrhea.
Sodom and gonorrhea. There you go.
It's where both those words come from. This has been going on in schools at the hands of female teachers for God knows how long, to a degree that makes the Catholic Church look like... I'm struggling to think of an institution that isn't rife with noncery, given that you never really know.
Mm-hmm.
come back, Catholic Church. All is forgiven. Lol.
Lol.
It's what Jesus would have wanted. Forgiveness, I mean, not sorry.
No.
I mean, even the BBC doesn't seem all that bad in comparison to just how many schools have been harboring and protecting God knows how many female nonces over the years. Even Hollywood probably pales in, well, I wouldn't go that far. or would I? We don't even know the extent of the problem. We have no idea what lies under the surface that we've only just begun to scratch. I mean, it's generally assumed that when this happens to schoolboys, they just, they brag about it to their friends, and everyone just goes, nice. Or they just don't believe them, because why would they? But maybe the vast majority of the boys to whom this happens, they just never mention it. And not just because no one would believe them anyway. It's very probably because they are told not to tell anyone. But by the teacher who's grooming them and raping them. That's how nonces operate, after all. Don't tell your parents, or else. Even the female ones who like to believe that they didn't do nothing wrong, they're still fully aware that the parents of the child they are grooming and raping would not approve. That's certainly how modern day trans weirdo groomer teachers operate. It's now reached the point where they're grooming them into their weirdo trans cult right there in the classroom and right there in the school library, and they still think they can get away with it by telling the kids to keep quiet about it. Maybe you can see the timeline of events by now. Maybe this cult of weirdo trans groomer teachers didn't fall out of a clear blue sky. It didn't come out of nothing. If you let people get away with anything, sooner or later they will do anything. And it's not even that we let teachers get away with anything. It's that we let women get away with anything.
Yeah.
Including colonizing the education system, ethnically cleansing the education system, or sexually cleansing in this case. Does anyone remember male teachers? Is anyone in the audience old enough to remember any male teachers? Never mind a 50-50 split for the sake of representation or diversity. It's one of those industries where it has apparently it's never been an issue. No matter how many male teachers have been sacked in disgrace and run out of town because a gaggle of schoolgirls didn't like having so much homework, so they accused him of touching them, and he's got his pitchforked out of town. You can't be too careful, after all. Meanwhile, an epidemic of female nonces have been traumatizing innocent boys for God knows how long. Hey, maybe those very same female nonces have been the ones driving innocent male teachers out of the profession, because they're a bunch of rabid feminists who assume all men are rapists by default because that's what they've been taught to assume in university. It's much like nursing. There are plenty of men who very much want to go into nursing as a profession because they want to help people on that front. They want to work in the medical industry, but they can't afford the stupid amount of money it takes to train as a doctor, so they want to become a nurse. But they get through a couple of months of the training period before the tyranny of misandric zealots go ahead and get the ick and complain to their superiors that this man is he's interacting with everyone too much, or not interacting with them enough, or interacting with everyone in this weird middle ground, and it seems suspicious. Either way, fuck him. We don't like him. He makes us feel uncomfortable. I mean, it works in ordinary office environments. It even works in warehouses, in which the first woman who ever walks into the place can start taking scalps left, right, and center. It works in the police. It works in the fucking army. How long do you suppose it's been like that in workplaces where women, by and large, actually want to work and have been the majority of the people in that environment? It's a long ass time. That's how fucking long.
Yep.
So yeah, in an institution where celebrities can get away with anything, you will get a contagion of celebrity nonsense. In an institution where priests can get away with anything, you will get a contagion of priest nonsense. It shouldn't be all that surprising that an institution where women can get away with anything, you'll get a contagion of female nonsense. And the institution of education is colossal. It dwarfs anything else you care to mention. And it just so happens to be where people send their kids for like at least 7 hours a day. Well, in a building where they're not allowed to leave, and they're not even allowed to not go there.
Yeah, and there's like a whole Marxist like, I guess, education writer or academic educator named Paolo Fieri that did a whole series on queering the child. And so like this is old, this goes to the 60s. So yeah, I think the 60s is about when this is really starting. I mean, yeah, it goes back farther, but when it became institutionalized, yeah, look up Paolo Fieri if you're interested.
Yeah.
And Kinsey and Money, things like people like that as well.
So yeah, while all you dumb cunts were arguing about the patriarchy, you looked the other way while an international complex of child rape factories played merry hell with your civilization and any prospect of such a thing as a civilization existing in the future. And nowadays they're not even content with merely raping your children. Now they're torturing them. They're telling them they're in the wrong body, telling them who they should be sexually attracted to, even while they simultaneously bully them into getting their genitals butterflied, so they never even experience what sexual attraction is. It's
putting them through struggle sessions about their privilege.
Yeah, it's not just psychological torture, but right down to the worst kind of physical torture on children, no less. When's it enough? When will you finally say enough is enough? When? In the giant bleeding anus of Jehovah has it perhaps gone too far?
Good question.
The answer is whensoever you can pull your heads out your asses and consider any mindset other than blaming men for everything. And that's not going to happen anytime soon, because it seems the left and the right appear to be in lockstep on this matter. That we should accommodate women because of their fucking fifis. There's no one speaking out against it except a small, demonized group of space lepers in a shadow banned corner of the internet who give you nasty, hurty feelings because they have this red-hot, inflamed nerve to hold you responsible for your own fucking feelings. I am so sick of everything. Do you know what? I would rather fuck a bear. I would actually rather fuck a bear than deal with these hateful piles of ass. You actually don't know where you stand with a bear. If a bear's stomach is full, it might actually leave you alone and just sit there and then go fuck off and hibernate or something. Whereas these misandric, narcissistic cunts are 100% guaranteed to blame you for everything as soon as they smell your fucking blood in the air. So fuck it, I'm hibernating until this long dark winter of the soul is over, or until I die. Fuck it, maybe I'm already dead. So until the end of time it is.
All right, well,
you can't die if you're already dead.
Well, you could die again, I guess. Well, that does it. I guess we got to crowdfund Mike a copy of Baldur's Gate 3 so he can have bear sex. All right, so let us know what you guys think about this. I did see a couple super chat and a super chow. So we're gonna read through those. I might respond to them, and that'll be my commentary on this story. Obviously, it's monstrous. that this woman, like the cojones, the broveries on this lady to be like, oh, you know, I probably shouldn't see any jail time because I'm a woman. And here's like another story as president of another woman that sexually, like basically raped little boys that I guess I didn't look at the case, but the fact that she thinks as president only shows how depraved this is, that there was a woman who did this before and her case served as precedent for this woman trying to get off. It's almost like there's something that holds those things in common, right? So anyway, Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, I will say that in spite of TikTok being loaded with spyware, it does have the usefulness of being a platform that allows users who have questionable proclivities comfortable enough to advertise their various degeneracies to the public while believing that only those who are of the same mindset are the only ones viewing it. Well, I mean, I think that there is like a desire to be caught too, in a way. But thank you for that, because I mean, like, it can't work out for them. Thank you, Richard. Okay, Alberneta says, a third reason might be that they didn't like it, but they think they should have, especially if the teacher was an attractive woman. Well, okay, this is I'm not mad about this or anything, but like this is the reason why this kind of thing is tolerated, because there is an assumption that the boy is attracted to his teacher and that the teacher is attractive. But what if, and bear with me, not that it should matter, but what if the woman is hideous? What if she is fat and old, which is like most teachers? Like, let's be real. And she did that. Like, that doesn't... And the thing is, I shouldn't have to say, what if she was an ogre and did this? Because it doesn't matter. She could have been a 10. It's rape. And that's the thing. Like, boys, are, like, if they are post-pubescent and their hormones are running wild, they may, like, make the error of thinking that they want something from a woman that is an adult, like a teacher, that they should not want, because they have the sex drive coming up. But a lot of these kids are, firstly, they're younger than that, so they're not teenage boys. We're talking children. Secondly, there's no guarantee these women are attractive. Thirdly, neither of those things matter because it's illegal. And is the thing, we can't just say, you know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not demonizing anyone. I'm just pointing out that these factors should not matter. But I think that more than not, one of the problems is that boys are not they're not expected to have a problem with that, because of this you know, this narrative of like, oh, nice, right? But what if, like, that? First of all, it doesn't matter. But also, she probably wasn't attractive, and it probably isn't pleasant. Even if the boy thinks he wants it, he probably won't enjoy it. You know, like, this is the thing. And the thing is, if you want to end, like, sexual abuse, then you have to end the cycle, because the men who are most likely to be themselves sexual abusers experience sexual abuse, like most of them have. And the people who have problems with gender identity, and the people who have problems with their sexuality, the people who have all kinds of, like, dysfunction, right? They have themselves experienced abuse. So we can't make allowances for maybes and what ifs regarding this kind of thing. We just have to say it's wrong, period. It doesn't matter what it looks like.
And what if an attractive male teacher has sex with, I mean, even a 17-year-old female student? I know it seems so obvious to do what if the gender,
like Indiana Jones.
Possibly, but evidently when that happens, the female student does talk about it, because I don't know if you know this, folks, but women talk. Teenage girls talk. In any of those situations where a 17-year-old student does fuck her 10 out of 10 male teacher, she's obviously going to talk about it, because I think this might be a difference, particularly between teenage girls and teenage boys. Teenage girls talk about all the sexual activities they have, and they can't shut the fuck up about the hot male teacher they just fucked, even if that hot male teacher tells them not to. Maybe that's because teenage girls are a little bit more shallow than teenage boys. teenage boys just want to have sexual experiences because they're so unlikely to, and so they're only interested in the sexual experience, and so they don't tell anyone about it, which, if you're following the narrative, makes them more vulnerable to predators.
Yeah.
Because they won't talk about it. Teenage girls are not as vulnerable to male predators because they will talk about it, because they feel that they are able to talk about it, because they're not just looking for sexual gratification, they're looking for a story to tell their fucking friends.
Yeah.
And this is why male teachers can't get away with fucking their students, even if they are of age. And female teachers can get away even with fucking a 10-year-old.
Yeah. I think the education system needs to be like rebooted. We need to do something else. Factory settings, I don't know, something. All right, I got more super chats. So Albert Nader Retro gives us $2 Canadian, says, F a bear, Doc, have I got the Baldur's Gate for you?
Yeah, it's an obvious joke. Everyone's done it.
Yeah.
It's worth telling multiple times.
And then Albert Nader gives us $5 Canadian and says, I'm not defending it. I'm saying that's why the kid might keep quiet about it. I know you're not. I'm just pointing out that it's an easy, it's just an easy trap for a lot of people to fall into. And I'm not saying that you've done that. All right, but anyway, let's move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Now we're on the last story. Speaking of new pride flags and pedophiles, because I think there's a relationship here, and Paolo Fieri. Gen Z is gay, have you heard? So, interesting numbers have come back after a new survey by the Census Bureau polled various generational cohorts about their sexuality. While only 11% of millennials identify as LGBT, nearly 20% of Gen Z now identify as LGBT. Surprisingly, the main driver of this shift seems to be Generation Z women identifying as bisexual, as the same survey shows that between 19 and 22% of women between 18 and 25 now identify as bisexual. While no one reason has surfaced to explain this shift, one school of thought has labeled this phenomenon as a trend, one fueled by social media apps such as TikTok. On the other side, I hope I'm saying this right, Rich Savin Williams, a developmental psychology professor, argues that bisexuality being destigmatized is helping more people come out. So this is like the pro-queer theory side of things. Quote, social media has added to this visibility that there are options out there not previously available. In a positive sense, it sort of says, quote, hey, look, you don't have to fit into these boxes, end quote. It's not that the absolute number of people increased as a percentage in terms of their internal orientation. The shift has been in the visibility and the willingness of individuals to express it and to declare it, end quote. So, is this real or is this manufactured? I think that's kind of what the question is, right?
Yeah, and the implicit assumption by the quote there is that it's to do with stigma and the lifting of whatever stigma used to exist, apparently one generation ago.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers in the 90s and the 2000s it was a hangable offense for women to have sex with each other, wasn't it? Oh yeah, no, it wasn't. I don't think it's ever even been illegal, like anywhere, even in the scary bits of the East. But it was at least frowned upon, right? Your family would disown you if you were a lesbian. They'd be like, "Oh, I have no daughter." Right? Yeah, no, not really. I mean, maybe like 100 years ago, when male sexuality was indeed illegal just about everywhere, or maybe like 200 or 300 years ago when it was punishable by death for men to love each other in such a way. I suppose that while that was going on, there was also a little bit of stigma, a little bit of side eye in the air. In the event that your daughter turned out to be a carpet muncher, you'd be like, well, shit, now she's never leaving home. Got another bloody mouth to feed forever. There goes my retirement plan. Grumble, grumble. Anyway, get your coat. We're going to go watch them hang another couple of faggots. Pardon Me boy, is that the Chattanooga Choo Choo? I don't know any songs from the 1800s. Shut up. But yeah, the point is, there are...
Ching, ching, ching goes the trolley. I did Rosie O'Donnell. I don't know why I thought about her. Rosie O'Donnell, mouth like a truck driver. Okay, did you want to say anything else about this?
Yeah, the point is, there are different kinds of stigma, different levels of stigma. It makes sense that after the 1960s, the number of men admitting that they fancy each other would rise from, I mean, presumably 0 to...
Well, look at this graph! I'm showing you a graph. While doing some Nickelback.
Yeah.
Look at this graph!
I mean, men admitting that they were gay in order to not get killed by the state, it would explain a case in which men were unwilling to express or declare it.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean the same explanation applies to other things like homosexual women, and certainly not bisexual women. The only thing less oppressed than a modern Western woman is a modern Western bisexual woman.
Why are you gay?
Bisexual women have all the same privileges as women, plus even more relational opportunities by definition. So, incidentally, whenever a bisexual woman claims to speak on behalf of gay men as part of the same historically oppressed class, and they go, oh, if you're nice to us, you could sit at our table, tee, then someone really ought to put their hand up and go, excuse me, what the fuck? But that's another story for another year, long ago. And what goes for gay men doesn't necessarily go for quote unquote transgender people either. Yeah, I tried looking at some dates for when transsexuality was made legal, in the West, I mean. And I suppose my mistake was looking it up on Google and Wikipedia, but all they gave me was a series of gender recognition acts, i.e. when it became a legal process to officially change your documented sex. And I'm like, no, bad Google, bad Wikipedia, that's not what I meant. That's when the legal system started officially denying reality. That's not... I want to know when in history it was a punishable crime to have a quote-unquote sex change, or even just to quote-unquote cross-dress. Yeah. And as far as I could ascertain, the answer is it's complicated. There were vague laws on the books, but they were interpreted at the arbitrary behest of any given local or contemporary lawmakers, much like the vague hate speech laws we have today. They were only enforced whenever it was opportunistically expedient, shall we say. So the destigmatization was gradual throughout the 20th century, and it seems the pivot point was around the 1960s. While gay men were fighting for their right to love each other without being imprisoned or castrated, there was also a gradual shift in the Overton window when it came to the gender benders. Oh, and lesbians were going, we're oppressed too! We're way more oppressed than them! Gibbs! I mean, obviously. So, yeah, the period in which you would expect the data to shift to more accurate numbers was between the 1960s and the 1980s. By the 80s, everything was fully decriminalized again in the West, and by the 90s, it was already celebrated. It was great to be gay. But the thing,
for sure. But there was like movies made about it by the Wachowskis and shit, like Bound.
But the thing about the Overton window is it can and will get pushed beyond the point of acceptance, beyond the point of celebration, and into the region of, hip and trendy, and then into upside down land, and into the region of positive discrimination in which you get more opportunities than everyone else, much like what bisexual women have always enjoyed. And the point where crimes against you are officially registered as worse than crimes against other people. You know, just because you feel like it, just because of how you perceive things. Editor's note, you are here. In conclusion, the reason there are so many LGBTQ plus people in this generation, so much more than the last, is not because it has become destigmatized. It already was. It's because heterosexuality has become stigmatized. Artificially stigmatized. Cisgenderism, if you want to call it that, has become artificially stigmatized. I mean, the word itself doesn't need to exist. It only exists to stigmatize what we used to call normal people. And in case this wasn't clear, hopefully to everyone listening, the reason the last 10 years has seen such a huge spike in the prevalence of quote-unquote trans kids, from around 0% to fuck knows how many, is not because children having spent the previous 200,000 years convinced that they were in the wrong body but were too afraid to say so. No, it's because of a mass formation psychosis of sick, morally bankrupt, ideologically warped lunatics who think it's trendy to torture their children. History will not be kind to this generation, folks, and as a result, future generations might not be kind to the LGBTs whom they think might be responsible. Well, you know what? They'll probably just blame it on the gay men and go back to hanging them in the street. Actually, they'll probably just blame men in general, like they always.
Well, they already do,
and they'll just try to abolish male identities, and the whole cycle will start over again. Good times, well, bad times. That adage that we all know now isn't quite accurate anymore. It's weak women create bad times. Weak women create bad times. Weak women create over and over, forever and ever. Yeah, or maybe we could break out of this very tiny cycle by just not blaming men for everything. You're listening to Honey Badger Radio.
Yeah. So I wanted to throw in there, I have this graph on the screen here. The article talks about it in terms of it being Generation Z, like broadly, but it really is Generation Z girls. And you can see that girls in 2015, boys in 2015, 2.4% of them identified as LGBT, and 2.8% of them in 2021 identified as LGBT. So about the same number, basically. I think 2% of the population makes sense because it just doesn't make sense that a large number of people would essentially like not breed and kill off the entire species. Even if you if you believe in evolution, Darwinism, whatever, you would know that this doesn't make sense as, you know, a behavior that would that should replicate itself. But girls, that number is much higher. In 2015, it was 10% of girls, and in 2021, now it is 25%. And what I think is going on is something called social contagion theory. When you take girls in a highly feminized environment like school and our media and everything else, also their peer groups and social media like TikTok, etc. I mean, like when I was in high school, there were girls who thought they were bi. Like they would say, I don't identify as male or female. But it was like this LARP thing that they wanted to do so they could feel special. This is like 1989, 1990, right? And no one thought it was anything like really weird. Like obviously as a boy, I was like, why would you, like, you have tits. I like your tits. Why would you want to not be who you are? You have great tits, right? But, you know, she took her tits for granted. And eventually she realized, oh, actually I am a woman. Like a couple of years later, you know, she was like, oh yeah, I am a girl and I like boys. But this social contagion theory, so you know, it suggests that people's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors can be influenced by the people around them, leading to the spread of ideas, attitudes, and behaviors throughout social networks. This theory is rooted in the idea that individuals are influenced by the social environment and that social interactions can shape their behavior, attitudes, and emotions. According to social contagion theory, people are more likely to adopt a particular behavior or attitude if they see others around them exhibiting it. This can occur through direct observation, social media, or other forms of communication. The theory suggests that people are drawn to behaviors that are perceived as desirable and that they are more likely to adopt them if they see others around them engaging in those behaviors. So I think that you guys have heard and you've seen this before. So there's like this feminist theory operates under the social contagion as an assumption about society. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, for example, they say that men are socialized to be a certain way. We, like people like Karen, are more in the biological determinist camp where it's like, no, men are the way they are because we evolved this way, we adapted in this fashion. And I think that it is really more of it could be a mixture of both of these things, although I think biology tends to win out in the end. And I think what we're seeing with these high school girls is them trying to please their, you know, peer group and fit in with social media, etc. So they LARP as being gay or bisexual, and maybe they even engage in some bisexual activity, and no one discourages them. In fact, it's celebrated, like Mike was saying. And I think that this is not, I don't want to say it's harmful as long as they like get out of it later. But the problem is that we're not living in a time where being gay or bisexual is just sort of tolerated in a passive sense. We're living in a time where it's like really like amplified and lifted up and normalized, and people are getting surgeries and they're taking hormones and they're engaging in stuff that maybe like this sort of like this peer pressure on girls is like pushing them towards, especially if they're like teenage girls. And I think it could result in some serious problems down the line. And this is why I am a bit more critical of the trans movements, because I think it's going to, like in general, I'm supportive of adults doing whatever. But I think that when it comes to young people, and even like young people who are technically of legal age, I think that there should be more soul searching before you make these decisions, because you are essentially taking yourself out of the gene pool. And I think that there are very powerful lobbies interested in doing that because they believe that the earth is, you know, that the humans need to be culled, and they're not really giving these people a choice. So I think that there is a real danger there, and that we should like tread very carefully. And I'm glad that this is not something that is impacting boys as much. Although, you know, it does sort of like call into question whether or not, as Lady Gaga said, we're born this way, or if this is something that is hoisted upon us. I imagine it's a bit of both. So anyway, that's it for the stories. I don't know if you guys, if you want to say anything to that, Mike. I'm gonna look and see if there's any super chats or super chows.
Go ahead.
And
I'm impressed that we've made it almost an hour and a half just between.
I knew it. I thought we could do it. Hell, if you lived here and we had a studio space and we were doing it like live on camera, I think we could do a really badass podcast. But maybe you'll come down here and we'll figure something out one day.
I will be
All right.
there in the beginning of, I'll be in Connecticut in the beginning of June, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm planning on visiting family this summer. I have not seen my family and friends in Chicago in a long time.
Well, I'll be there for 3 months, so we'll see.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we can work something out. And I know Allison wants to do something too, because technically her, you know,
I'm not going to Canada.
Her exile is gonna. Well, I'm not going to Canada. No.
Fucking psycho is in charge.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Allison, but that place is really awful. Anyway, I'm gonna read the super chows and super chats. So let me just make sure I did not miss any. I got the hiccups for some reason. Sorry about that. Okay. So Richard Bier gave us $5 and said, and I missed this one. So there was a high school faculty member who was overweight and unattractive who coerced a teenage student into having relations with her as the means to prove that she wasn't gay. Happened in Houston Independent School District for $5. For $5. Thank you, Richard, for that. Yeah, I remember there's plenty of cases like this. This is what I'm saying. Like, I think that in a lot of cases, the teachers are not attractive, but I also think that's irrelevant. Thank you for that. And then he gives another $5 and says, how many Generation Z women identify as the other bi, that being bipolar? Well, that's a different question, but it's a good one. I wonder how many women are on SSRIs of that age, because I know that's like a big thing, especially with millennial women. I bet it's going to be a big thing with Zoomer women too. All right, now super chats. So Albert Nader Retro gives us $2 in Canadian and says, Judy Garland using that trolley song. Clang, clang, clang goes the bell. And I think there was another one that I missed. Albatross, that's right. Albatross gave us a super chat as well and said, identity politics ordered women to be strong, independent, and not to take orders from anyone. Oh, wait a second. All right, and I think that's all the super chats and super chows. So we're gonna go hang out with the patrons in the patron show, and I have a couple of articles to look at. Also, I don't know if you saw this, but just a little while before the show, Dr. Warren Farrell put up a video clip of the Dr. Phil show. And he was on
it. For anyone
and Cassie, Cassie
J in the last few.
Yeah, Cassie J was on there.
She's alive.
And Dr. Warren Farrell was it. She is though. I follow her on Instagram. I think she's got 2 kids now, and she had like a miscarriage early on. She was gonna make a documentary series about miscarriages, but she never. I mean, she ended up having more kids, so I don't know if she's gonna get back into doing the films thing, or maybe she'll wait till her kids are a little older. But yes, Cassie J was on there. It was really good to see her. And Cassie, if you see this, I still love to have you on. I promise we won't be doing cartoon animals. I'll be on camera. So anyway, we're gonna head into the patron show and hang out. If you guys want to join us, you have to become a badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com /subscribe and setting up a monthly account. $5 a month will get you into the Discord, where you'll be able to participate in all of the additional content, including lots and lots of bonus content. And we are also doing our monthly fundraiser. This is our last, I think we got like another 24 hours or something until this is over. So please try to help us get over the hump. We're getting close, but Allison is starting to panic. And that is feedthebadger.com /support. I don't know why I get that. It used to be Badger Media Blitz, but it's just support now, which I think is a lot easier. And if you want to send us a message after this show is over, I will endeavor to read it on the next show, which should be tomorrow, where I think we will be responding to that Dr. Phil video. So please, subscribe to our channel and send us a super chow at, we'll give you a Badger Chan for this, feedthebadger.com /justthetip. And you can send us whatever amount, and you can essentially make sure that we get most of your support, because otherwise YouTube takes a nice chunk and they tend to, let's say, guard the messaging. So this is how you avoid the YouTube comment enhancement system. All right, anyway, all of that said, let's wrap this shit up. If you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News. Please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Word.
Just maybe 100 or so years ago, 100 and such a few years ago, that women were still viewed as chattel.